Right, good morning people of YouTubes. As you can see, I've made a start and taken the engine out. Just purely because I've taken the inlet manifold off, I've taken the fuel pump out, and to do the bodywork, I need well over this side on the ramp, because I've got a lot of spot welds to drill out along the bottom. So it's just easier to get it right over and get it on some bits of wood, and get it up off the ramp a little bit, to do that bodywork. So again, I've made the choice to replace the engine now. That just gets out of the way with, and yeah, I mean the spare engine's ready to go in. It's just a second-hand engine that came off a known race car, which is good. I only done like one race, I think it did. But yeah, I've recorded taking this engine out on a little time lapse, so I'll insert that in a minute. Right, I hope that made some sense in what I was doing to get this out. So again, I'm going to get you set up, and I'll time lapse a little bit more. What we need to do is we need to take shafts out, so we need to take the hubs away from the drive shafts, get them out. We'll take some hoses off and some wiring off, just make it a little bit tidier. And then around here we'll have to take this arm off, that gearbox arm off, and hopefully we can rig something up to lift it out of the frame. Once it's out of the frame, we can then take the gearbox off and take off all the other ancillaries off that engine and transfer them onto the new engine, and then plug it all back in. But I'll cut in before we get too far, but let's start ripping the suspension out and getting this engine pulled out of the subframe. Right, engine and box are out of the subframe now. So it's just a case of splitting the box off the engine and taking all the ancillaries off that we need to swap over, i.e. like the alternator, flywheel, crank pulley, engine mount, exhaust manifolds, and the oil filter housing with the sandwich plate on it. Yeah, so that's that. Do you really need to see me take all that off? No, I don't think so. I don't want to put too much time lapse in this video, because that'll just get a bit boring otherwise, if my videos aren't already that boring. One major thing I did find while I was taking this all apart is that, I don't know if you can remember, but during the race season I was saying that I've got some sort of wandery back end down the straights, and also you see that the powder coating on my wheel had started to melt off basically, and it turns out that this wheel bearing is absolutely shagged. So that explains the excessive heat on the wheel, and also probably explains why it was wandering down the straights at the back end. I don't think I'll be able to do this one, but this one's absolutely solid. And that one is flogged. Right, so let's get all this gearbox off and apart, all the ancillaries off, and then I'll update you when I've done all that and I've got everything apart.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
Right, so that's the engine pretty much stripped down. The gearbox is off, clutch is off, flywheel's off. Most ancillaries are off. I might need that little water outlet, I don't know yet. I might need the oil filter housing. I think that's a new one actually, so I might reuse that one. Yeah, the covers I just took off just to get the engine mount off. It's easier to take them 413mm out than it is to, because I think I might need that mount that connects to the engine, so I don't think the other engine's got it. So yeah, just took that off. One thing that I did see when I was stripping it all apart is the amount of heat that's got into this area that's melted that timing belt cover. Obviously I have got the manifold cover, but there should be a metal plate that goes onto this exhaust stud housing that covers that off, but I never put it on for some reason I don't know. So that timing belt cover is knackered, and these VVC ones are really hard to get, because 9 times out of 10 people pull the heads off and snap them here, because they can't be bothered to take that one little bolt out there, take the cam pulleys off and undo the 2 other little bolts. I know it's all time and stuff like that, but for the sake of an extra 2 or 3 minutes, that can save these covers. Just pure laziness really. Manifold is off. Yeah, so let's have a look at the clutch. This is a stage 2 black diamond clutch, looking okay. There's a few heat spots on the actual cover itself. There's still loads of meat on that. I think this is organic material, so that's or a lot of carbon ceramic material, not really too sure. So a little bit of heat spot on the flywheel, but again, not nothing really to worry about. Gearbox is alright, won't have to do anything to the gearbox. I did want to change first and second gear ratios to the Lotus ones. So instead of being a C4, gearbox. This then becomes a B4 gearbox, which I believe I'm allowed to do. The only thing I'm not allowed to do is run an LSD. So yeah, it's all time and money, because these gearboxes, the parts, especially the Lotus parts, and the B4 gear sets are really expensive. I mean, you're looking anywhere between £500 and £800 just for the gear sets alone. So maybe one day, but maybe not this soon, because obviously I've just spent loads of money on getting panels for that, spent loads of money getting another engine, I've had to spend loads of money getting another ECU, and also some Toyo tyres. So yeah, my racing fund limit is pretty much stretched at the minute, so which is disappointing, but is what it is. I'd love just to chuck loads of money at this car, but you've got to be realistic, really, you know, especially when you've got 6 rounds at like £450 a round, plus fuel, travel expenses and all that. You know, it adds up pretty quickly, you know. Like even the closer rounds, you're looking at about £800 per round. So yeah, it is cheap motorsport compared to what it can be, but still not a cheap hobby. I'm still trying to weigh up whether my wife's horse hobby is a lot less expensive than my racing hobby, but yeah, that's very close at the minute. But yeah, I think what I'm going to do now is time's pressing on. I've got school run duties, so I'm going to have to go and do that. So, but I'll continue this video on tomorrow, where we'll get the other engine in. We can have a look at that, swap all the bits over, get it mated to the gearbox, and hopefully into the subframe. So yeah, we'll see you tomorrow, I guess.
The next day.
Right, into a new day, and we start off by getting the engine into the workshop from the other unit. And I've already made a start on taking some bits off that I know we'll need to change over. So I've got the old flywheel and clutch off, and I was just giving that area a little bit of a clean, because there's a little bit of oil around that area. I don't think it's leaking from it anywhere in particular. I just think it's a build-up of oil from multiple usage. What we got around here, I've started the power steering bracket, because this engine came out of a ZR. So I've taken that off. I've taken the dipstick off, so we'll have to replace it with that, or with my old one, I should say. Didn't come with any coils, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a set of new coils in, just to be on the safe side, that, you know, trying to figure out why this engine blew up, basically. So yeah, I think I'll stick a set of new coils in, and I'm going to have to change the spark plugs anyway. This side is pretty much okay. I think I'm going to reuse that oil filter housing. I think the sensor at the bottom is missing, so we've got the pressure sensors here, but the other sensor at the bottom is missing, so we'll have to get a new one of them sensors. Yeah, obviously this mount was missing, as I explained last time, so I took the time belt covers off. I took this bottom pulley off, and as I pulled that bottom pulley off, this came off with it. I was trying not to make that happen, which then meant all the cam belt came off. So we're just going to have to reset the cam belt. No issues at all. Water pump looks relatively new. The idler looks relatively new, and the belt looks relatively new. So again, I know this car's only done 1, maybe 2 races, and then it rolled over on its side. So the car was total, basically, and this is just a spare engine from the guy who put all these together. So yeah, he said that was running absolutely fine. After they rolled it, they then started it all back up again. That didn't smoke or anything silly like that, so he's pretty confident that this engine is good. and this is literally just a spare engine. What was the other thing I need to do? I think that's about it really. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to reset this timing belt, put the engine mount on, put all the covers back on, and then start putting on the clutch and flywheel, getting the exhaust manifold on, get the inlet manifold on, and yeah, just start building it up basically. What was the other thing I wanted to say? My wiring harness that come off the old engine. Where was it? Yeah, this is the alternator plug, and you can see, hopefully you can see where the heat from the exhaust manifold has melted them two wires, and also where I've had to extend this wire, that's melted the little plug off there. I never had any battery issues, and it is a lithium battery, so it should always be 13 volts, and you can run one of them batteries for a 20-minute race without an alternator. So I don't think that was anything to do with that, but I'm trying to find another wiring harness just to rule that out, and then we'll go through this again and redo this one and repin all this at a later date, and maybe that can go onto the spare engine ready to just drop in basically. So I want to build up another engine, because all my engines at the minute are like this, but I want to build another engine up so it is ready literally just to take off the old one and then bolt this one straight onto the gearbox, if that makes sense. So I don't have to do any swapping and changing about of anything. That's the plan anyway, just to make things a little bit easier, just in case we get a little bit time restraints between rounds. Like sometimes you only get like 1 or 2 weeks between rounds, and when you're working a job and got family life and all that sort of stuff, it becomes difficult to find the time to do it. So if I can make that as quick and easy process as possible, then we will. Right, let's get this built up, and then I'll bring it back over to our engine workstation and get it all married up to the gearbox, and then hopefully we can get it into the subframe later on today. Right, that's the engine pretty much together for me to put the gearbox on. I can't put the exhaust manifold on just yet, purely because I've got to lift it up off the floor, because that goes underneath, and I can't do that until I get the gearbox on, because that's what's holding it to the strap basically. Yeah, so we've got the timing belt all reset, the front crank pulley, the light front crank pulley on, all the manifold, the water rail, the thermostat, light flywheel, and the clutch all in position. So the gearbox is ready to go back on. There is one thing that I've probably made a mistake on, and that's fitting this inlet manifold, and purely because I've managed to find myself a brand new unused 160 TF engine wiring harness. So like hen's teeth, can't get them anymore, and I don't think they use the same connectors for like the injectors and stuff. So you get this one here, which comes with this plug instead of that big plug here. The only other issue is obviously the map sensor with the integrated temperature sensor. I'm not too sure if that plug is on the new loom, as in this loom here, because as you can see on this one it's just injectors only, or whether it's got the temperature sensor in here, or if I need an injector not an injector, a coil loom, which then comes over to here. But I'm going to have to wait until this loom turns up. For now, I'm going to leave that on there. I'm going to get the gearbox in onto the engine, get the manifold on, and get it plonked into the subframe. Just so it's out of the way, I've got less things to work around basically. Before we put the subframe in, I can then change the loom as and when it comes. Right, so let me just get that gearbox onto the engine, and then we can lift the engine up, get the manifold on, get the alternator on, start a motor and all that sort of stuff, and hopefully get it into the subframe. So I'll come back to you when I've got all that completed. Right, as you can see, the engine is back in its subframe. The gearbox is on, obviously you can see that. Manifold's on, the alternator's on. The only problem that I really had was the oil filter housing. Because this engine come from a ZR, it doesn't have the extra oil pressure or temperature switch that the TF have. So once I've saw that the sensor was missing, I then tried to take it off there and put it in the hole, but it wasn't actually missing, it just isn't there. So they have a different oil filter housing. So I then had to take that one off and fit that one from my old engine, but I didn't realise that until the engine was in the subframe, so it just made it a little bit more difficult really. But yeah, it's all there. We're just waiting for this wiring harness now to see whether we need to take the manifold back off or not, swap it with another one, or swap the injector looms. I don't know yet. Might have to order another injector loom. All depends on how this wiring harness comes, as I say. So yeah, I think for now I'm just going to leave this video here. I don't really want to put this in until I've got that wiring harness in place, and obviously we've still got all the coolant hoses to go on there, but again, when the coolant hose is in the way, it then blocks off all the wiring harness bits and pieces. So yeah, we'll do that first before we do anything else. The other thing I want to do before I put it back in, although it don't really make no difference, is obviously the wheel bearings. Yeah, just makes it easier while it's in this position. It's just a little bit easier. I can sit on a stool and do it, rather than it being in the car and the bodywork's in your way or whatever. But yeah, just easier to do like that. But yeah, that's it. Everything's back on, obviously, apart from the wiring harness and the coolant pipes. So I'll leave it here for now. Hopefully this will make an okay video. I think I looked at some of the footage last night, and it's a bit all over the place, so you're gonna have to excuse that. So yeah, anyway, enough rambling. I'll get this edited, get this out to you, and then maybe there'll be a part 2 later on. But I will video the first start and make sure that's in another episode. So yeah, I might just do a continuation episode of this with it in the car, all set up, all working. Yeah, anyway, enough's enough. I will catch you in the next video. Hope you liked it. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.